So he's actually, it's basically right on the border.
Yeah.
So
what's the area called? Milford or whatever?
my mum's actually from Milford, but Brawford. So not Drumcollar or Brawford. So it would be
I know
kind
that
of
area really well. Yeah, because I'm Newcastle West originally. Well, not even.
West Limerick.
Yeah, West Limerick.
Yeah.
Any relations still there?
Yeah, they're all up that direction.
Are they all McLaughlins?
Yes. Yes, yeah. So living in the village of Brawford, and then Knocktoosh, then, which would be closer to the Cork border. But
do you know all the Gearys up around there and all that?
In Milford, I'm related to Anna Geary.
Anna the
Camogie, yeah, she's first cousin, yeah.
Is she from there?
Milford.
I did not know that either.
Yeah.
Loads of info.
Gas story. Her uncles would have been very good.
Yeah.
Grown up, but they lived on the Cork side of the border, but they hurled with drum Collar.
Yeah.
So, but the rule was that you had to hurl with the county that you were. So they were living in Cork, but hurling with a Limerick club team, so they couldn't hurl with Limerick or Cork.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So you had to be with both.
You see, if they were living.
Well, they could have.
If they hurled with Milford, they could have hurled with Cork because they were playing with a Cork club team.
Why wouldn't they hurl with Milford?
I think they fell out with them, and then they transferred. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens. It's a gaff, yeah. And tell me, what about? No, I was thinking about the Gearys. In Broadford, they're not hurlers at all, actually, but they're farming community.
They'd know them all.
Yeah, they would.
Dad, yeah.
But you were reared in Cork.
Cork, yeah.
Oh, well, you were out of it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them. I would have followed Drumcollar down through the years, and winning football title. I went to loads of those county finals. They actually played Nemo Rangers in a county or a Munster semi-final.
What level did you play for the county?
Senior, I played in the 13 final, against Clare.
Great.
Yeah, well,
depends on your All-Ireland medal?
Silver.
Do
Yeah.
you know what is more than I have?
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Yeah.
We beat Limerick in a Munster final though.
Did you?
14, Park Equive.
2014.
Yeah, we played 13 as well and lost in the Gaelic grounds in Limerick.
I'm just trying to think now, what did I go to? I remember going to the finals. I'm a fair weather friend completely, right? So I went, the minute they started getting good and they were up against getting to the finals in Croke Park.
Yes.
Against Kilkenny now.
Oh,
God,
yes.
18.
Okay, yeah.
It was all over in 3 minutes. It was a joke. That
in 2007.
Final, was that 7?
I played in the minor final before that.
Did you?
Game,
I thought you were watching.
All my family beat us in the semi-final, but that was Seamus Hickey was flying that year, but Kilkenny were awesome.
Oh, yeah. It was all over in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So I went to that one and said, we'll never get here. And then when we did get there, oh my God, to see the grown men crying was amazing.
Oh, shit, they're passionate.
But it was how many years were they without a final?
I was up at my cousin's place in Knocktoosh for both finals in the 90s when they had it won and lost it, Offaly and Wexford and those, and they were like Limerick supporters or
they're insane.
Oh,
they're insane. Bananas.
They are. But it's they kind of appreciate what they have now with.
Well, you see, they do, and being fair, poor Limerick gets a bad bashing. PR-wise. So for other things. So although it's cleaned up, it's actually an awful lot. But I mean, it's great to see it thrive in sport.
Oh, it's flying. Yeah, and there's no slowing them down.
Yeah. Well, do you think? I thought they'd get a bit of a comeuppance this year.
I think Munster. I think they have to be stopped in Munster. When they move beyond Munster, agree. There's no stopping.
The Munster final is the All-Ireland final.
It is brilliant. Oh, yeah. But you're like, there's no comparison.
I saw Clare against them. I saw them all this year, and I was just saying, geez, they're all excellent.
Teams are
trying. Cork were excellent.
Cork were very unlucky. But again, they were no better off than Waterford, who had a disaster of a year then. So Cork are making
all very close.
Close they are. And you see the thing about Limerick, they're throwing everything at Limerick to try and beat Limerick. That's their final. They're good. Too good.
The drive for 5 now.
Welcome to the Guaranteed Irish Business Podcast, where each week we're joined by leaders of Guaranteed Irish member businesses to chat about how they sustain jobs, communities and provenance. Supported by FBD Insurance, Ireland's largest homegrown insurer. Support. It's what we do.
Hello and welcome to the Guaranteed Irish Business Podcast. My name is Brid O'Connell and joining me today is Lorcan McLoughlin, Business Development Manager with Peninsula, to discuss peak performance from the pitch to the workplace, how Peninsula sustains communities and his own GAA background. You're very welcome, Lorcan.
Thanks, Brid.
Delighted to have you here. Now, I have to pitch at the very outset, you're talking to a Limerick woman, you're a Cork GAA hurling player. We won't fight on this podcast, but it should make for an interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
Well, look, we're delighted to have you on board, and probably primarily because, of course, Peninsula is a Guaranteed Irish member, and they're an award-winning HR health and safety support for all small businesses, and indeed medium businesses, and most importantly, sponsors of the Guaranteed Irish Sports Month this August. So we're delighted to have you on board, and to shine a light I suppose, on the connection between peak performance in HR and sports, because we see from all the wellbeing programs that are out there at the moment how important and how vital that is for people to be successful. Happy mind, happy body, happy mind, get better performance, better productivity, more success in the workplace. Tell us all about it. So maybe we'll start with Peninsula itself. You're based in Cork, and they've their head offices in Dublin and Cork, and they've over 200 staff there at the moment. What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So great to be here. And like you mentioned, Peninsula is HR, health and safety and employment law specialist based across Ireland. Opened an office in Cork recently, close to 200 employees, supporting the SME community with compliance, legislation, protection, health and safety, and obviously the wellness as well of employees. So we're really helping SMEs to kind of achieve what their targets are, to grow their businesses, but also to support their employees.
And it's actually such a big area at the moment, apart from HR and well-being and the legalities of things. But the well-being has become so big over COVID or post-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, and it's here to stay. And a good thing for employees, also for the workplace, because I suppose when we start addressing issues like well-being, you're getting so much more out of your employees if they're happy.
Absolutely. And I suppose there is a duty of care there for the employers to support employees. And again, it's creating that good culture internally that you'll get more from employees if they're seen to be supported by employers. Part of our package is to offer an EAP program, an employee assistance program. That's 24/7 medical advice, 6 face-to-face counselling sessions, and that's open to family members as well under the same household. So
fantastic.
Absolutely. So if employees were struggling with, a bereavement or financial difficulties or anything along those lines, that's a confidential support service that's available to businesses that come on board with Peninsula.
Hold on, I think this is a real differentiation point. So Guaranteed Irish are a member of Peninsula. We go to you for our HR advice, and you're excellent at it. So as our employees then, if they have an issue with something going on in their family, for example, bereavement, is that something they can avail of? I didn't know that.
Absolutely. It's a confidential line, so 24/7 medical advice, 6 face-to-face counselling sessions, and again, you're seen to be supporting employees. So, for managers who might find that difficult to have that conversation with employees or not want to kind of ask personal questions.
Yes.
The support is provided for them, and that's great.
And is it all part of the package, or is there an extra fee then on that?
No, that's all part of the package, the HR and health and safety package. So there's kind of 5 key pillars: documentation, advice, software, Peninsula Protect, and then the EAP program. That's through Health Assured.
So that's super for the small and medium enterprise, because I see so many of our members who would fall into that category where obviously time is an issue. The point you made about personal concerns, and sometimes the person who's dealing with the HR is underranked to the person who may need that help. And it's hard to approach that when there is a generation gap, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And you have to be conscious of your workforce and try to accommodate them as best as possible. But you will, in terms of performance, if that support is there for employees, they're going to be, they're going to respond better to the organisation. They're going to work, and there's going to be more of a personal connection with the organisation. So that's a super service that's provided.
Oh, I really like that, and kindness goes a long way, and everybody remembers that when they're kind to them. Now, under the new CEO, James Potts, who's just joined the company, great to see him on board again. You've expanded into Cork. What does that mean? It sounds good. How good is it?
Yeah, no, it's super. Again, expanding the reach. I suppose we have consultants, we have advisors based in the Cork office. Our reach goes into the southwest. Again, really supporting the SME community. Cork is a really thriving city, and even in covering the Munster region and Kerry as well. Really expanding that reach. So it's exciting times. There's huge opportunity there. The WRC have opened an office recently as well in the southwest, so they're going to be inspecting more businesses. Great. So now is a great time for suppose SMEs to get their documentation in place, make sure they're compliant, and then that's where we can take all that away from them and give them peace of mind that they are compliant.
Brilliant. And how many have you based in Cork or down out of Munster at the moment?
So there's 200 across the board. So it's split between field-based. We have our BSTs, our business sales team, they're internal in Dublin. And then we have consultants based in the office in Cork as well. So it's 200 across the board that are split between field-based and office-based.
Brilliant. Lorcan, one of the things I want to talk to you is about your community engagement. You're very, very strong. You're very plugged into lots of organisations out there. And we'll touch off the GA in a minute because obviously you're hugely involved yourself and sport. But, talk to me about the work the Peninsula does specifically and directly to sustain Irish communities.
Yeah, so again, I suppose we're developing technology all constantly, that's supporting businesses. I suppose for business owners, their focus can be on, what they do best, and that's keeping the doors open, keeping employees in jobs and growing their business. So we take all the HR aspect away from them, their health and safety, advise them, support them, help them with documentation. And then, that support is there, that they have peace of mind, that they have all that support network in the background from qualified and competent consultants.
And your own background then, we've talked about it with the GAA, the discipline of being a young fella coming through the, root and branch source, especially the GAA in Ireland, so strong, amateur organisation, professionally run, no question about that, very well funded, very smart organisation, everybody would acknowledge that. How important was the discipline of sport to you as a young fella coming through your ranks to a young man, where you're actually now in this space where you're working with people, and sport has a direct impact on how they're performing, be it well-being in the workplace or sheer productivity, delivering sales targets, you're working in that space yourself. How important has sport been to Peninsula and its core thinking?
Oh, it's, there's a huge crossover. There's a lot of, I suppose, transferable skills from the workplace into the sporting environment and vice versa. I think once you're part of a team, be it in a professional setting or a sporting organisation, you're part of that team and you're trying to work with a team to maximise results. And then, of course, you have your own individual skill set as well, and you need to maximise that. But there's, I think there's a huge crossover, and they go hand in hand in many ways as well. You have your leadership team, they'll set out their strategy, and then it's all about communication then and getting the most out of the team. But everyone has to feel valued. They have to, if there's a support network there for employees or players as well, they'll generally perform better as well.
And do you feel, when you look at sporting heroes and heroines in the past and current, a lot of it is about external validation. You got the goal, you made the team, you got the medal, you got to the All-Ireland, you got to Croke Park, you got to the bench, whatever the standard is that you made it to your next step. How important is that discipline of hard work and graft to, when you bring it across then into the workplace? Can you see it for the guys and the girls who didn't do it?
I suppose, look, it is. You have to have that focus, and you have to have that drive and your own goal setting as well. And it's about what you want to achieve and what you want to get out of it. But then that has to be part of something bigger as well, and the values of the group. And that's where good leadership and good management will come in. They'll set targets, they'll set goals, and then bringing that back down, it's up to the individual then to work as part of a collective group. And then everyone's a cog in the wheel, I suppose, and everyone wants to work together to achieve something greater. If the organisation does well, every individual does well, and vice versa. If the individuals are doing well, that helps the organisation to grow.
And I'm going to blow now a little bit myself, but in terms of when I look at Limerick's leadership at the moment and how well they've really performed under their manager John Guiley, how important is leadership in the sporting world and then transfer it across to the working world in terms of inspiring and over delivering as opposed to everything being a grind?
Yeah, it's critical. Absolutely. Leadership is huge, but I think it's the important thing about leadership is getting the right people in the right place. And I suppose going back to the Limerick Senior Hurling team, they seem to have an awful lot going from good management team, good background team, good group of players, but they often use the word family, they're a tight-knit bunch. And
togetherness.
Absolutely. And that's, I suppose, the power of the group as well. Yeah. And, everyone kind of putting their own, I suppose, agenda aside for the greater good of the group, and you can see that, and
you really can see it, can't you?
You can, absolutely, and they seem to be, even in high pressurized situation, they work for each other, even after the game, they're very modest, as in it's all about the group and, the family, the supporters and everyone that's there, and they're really grateful for the position that they're in, and I think that's a key thing as well. It's about the character of the individuals. Yeah. And that's a big part of leadership, is getting the right people on board and getting them buying into buying into the vision, I suppose.
Yeah. And I suppose with good leadership, you can see a career path for yourself, or you can see a way forward, be it sport or business. You just see a route to the next level that can really get you there if you've got these pillars. Have you found that's worked for you in Peninsula now, in your current role?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, look, as an employee, you want to see a career path, I suppose. And in terms of leadership, I suppose you want to feel like they'll do everything to support you and encourage you to achieve your goals, whatever they might be. But also then it has to come from yourself then to apply yourself, have that work ethic, and then the results will come to the surface then.
So I want to ask you about that now. It has to come from yourself. There's an element of that innate piece. And, some people just do not have it, and some people have it in spades. To get it, if you have to work a little bit harder to get it, there's a discipline required that I suspect is bred into young kids when they're in the GAA from a small age, or rugby or sailing or tennis, whatever it is they do. But, where did you get the drive and the determination to decide you're going to commit yourself to that level of performance on an amateur sport? Nobody was paying you.
Yeah, I suppose, look, it is about finding that passion, finding something that you're passionate about. And I suppose people define success by winning or losing, but if you're doing something you really enjoy doing, it doesn't matter. You'll stick at it, and you'll
it's the journey, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And then look, you'll meet great people along the way, and they'll encourage you and they'll guide you, and it's about being coachable then as well. So whether it's in a business setting or a sporting context, you have to be coachable, and you have to take the advice and the guidance on board.
I really like that, being coachable, because some people are uncoachable.
Absolutely.
And what happens with those in Peninsula?
Oh my God, I suppose, look, you're looking at performance management. And again, it comes back to the thing, look, if you're not performing, you ask the question why you're not performing, okay? And if it comes back to the individual that they're not motivated by the position they're in or the tasks that they're doing, they're probably best suited somewhere else. And that's the reality. It's the same in sport. Look, you don't want to be carrying anyone. You want to, like, you'll accept anyone working hard or someone falling down and not achieving what they should be for whatever reason, provided they're applying themselves and they're I suppose trying to help people around them and trying to achieve. And that's it. But if people they're disengaged and they don't want to apply themselves, they're better off out of the group, and they'd be better suited to some other organisation. And
themselves as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They're benefiting no one, absolutely.
Okay, that's really interesting, because we've discussed it quite a lot. We had quite a few guys on and women on in relation to rugby and other disciplines and other sports categories. And they've all said the exact same point. It's about bringing their A game, and they're only part of the team. And our strapline, funnily enough, for Guaranteed Irish is altogether better. So we're only good as a company or an organisation if we're all coming in pushing in the same direction to make Ireland look good and therefore attract greater investment. So back to the discipline of Peninsula, because you are going great guns at the moment in terms of what you're doing out there and your spread and your reach. You're sponsors of our sports month this August as well here in Guaranteed Irish. And as we promote all our sports members, the importance of community aspects and Irish sports is really intertwined. Talk to us about what you feel is the most important community aspects of sports in Ireland in the context of Peninsula.
I suppose it's that inclusiveness and that I suppose it is there to benefit what the service that Peninsula provides is there to benefit the employee and the employer, and it's the same across sports. You want kind of fairness and consistency across the board. In a sporting context, I suppose you see, look, you've the male and the female sport as well, and they've made huge progress over recent years. But
thankfully,
yes, but you're talking about leveling the playing field, and that's exactly what you want in a sporting context as well. That you get equal opportunities and that everyone, I suppose, feels part of something greater. And I really believe that goes on in Peninsula as well, that there's huge opportunity there internally, but there's a level playing field as well, and that you're supported by the organisation. So it comes back to that group as well, being part of a group but being supported by the group also.
Yeah. And then for the guys who want to jump out ahead and have the ability and have the drive and they're putting in the work and they want to be the leaders, what's the advice there in terms of your own sporting background, but also your own ambitions within your own business here?
Yeah, I suppose, look, it's consistency of effort, and it is, I suppose, you lead by example, and I suppose in a sporting context, you know, it takes time to kind of develop and grow into a role or into a leadership position. Often you see managers that they were previous players themselves and they've come through the ranks and they understand it. So that those leadership roles come with experience as well. And I think maybe in the younger generation, that bit of patience is kind of lost, that you want everything now and here, whereas you mentioned the word journey there previously. That's what it's really about, you know, learning from each other, learning from the more experienced, being coachable, having mentors and taking all that knowledge on board. And I suppose in the current working model now with remote working and hybrid working, some of that kind of knowledge sharing is lost if you're working from home, that tacit knowledge sharing. So I think, you know, while it's great to have the new modern working model, I think there was a lot to be said as well for the in-office more traditional, and it's getting that balance right, I think, is going to be critical going forward.
So are you pro working from home and hybrid, or are you pro back to the old school and let's get out there and network and rub shoulders with people?
Yeah, and it's a bit of both, I'll be honest. It's what works, okay? And it there's no one size fits all, okay? You know, it's seen in the tech industry that, you know, hybrid working, remote working, that works. But also there's an awful lot to be said for the more traditional.
Well, a lot of them are pulling them back in now.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. I think it is, especially, look, if you're someone that's out of college and you don't have the experience, that's it. And you're sitting at home, you're not going to be learning. And I'm for keeping kind of your home life and your professional, you know, the work office separate, because when you're at home, there's a lot of distractions.
Of course.
And when you're at home, you want to be able to switch off. It's that's your recreational time and family time. And when you're in the office,
it's very blurred.
It does. And that's it. I think there has to be clear lines there. And you see with people building, you know, offices out the back of their house, so they create that separation. I think there's an awful lot to be said to be back in the office and meeting people face to face.
And I'd imagine in your role in business development, it's all about networking and okay, it's great that you have the networks of the sports, for sure. And Cork would be great to support their own, there's no doubt about that. But in terms of working from home and making calls and trying to get business over the phone, tricky.
Absolutely. And I know technology is great. I think it goes hand in hand. And
sure.
If you can get the balance of the traditional and digital, and that's the way to go. But there's nothing like sitting down face to face with someone, looking them straight in the eye, and then just building a relationship that way, as opposed to a screen.
Absolutely, I agree. So, Lorcan, let's talk about Peninsula, and this month, big motivation to try and get people engaged and involved. You're a brilliant package and a brilliant offer for the SME sector. What are you offering Guaranteed Irish members this month?
I suppose it's a full package. Look, it's an end-to-end service. I suppose we deal with over 6,000 SMEs across Ireland who run their own promotional offers. So they run, we'd say, 10%, 20%, 15% discounts at particular times in the year. That's available to all businesses and members within that within the Peninsula, I suppose, client. Absolutely. And that covers everything from retail, hospitality, leisure. So there's some excellent offers there and benefits for I suppose employees and clients. That's also seen as a benefit if you're recruiting. Peninsula, that's part of the package that you can offer to an employee. So if you're recruiting, it's an incentive that you're offering benefits to all these industries, but also the EAP program is available to all employees. So that's a huge, an end-to-end package.
Well, I really love that. I think it's a really differentiator, and I think we need to talk more about that package that you're offering to our own employees, but also to our members. So we'll certainly be talking about it and shouting out a little bit more on the upcoming newsletter on that. I'm more and more fascinated, Lorcan, in terms of what the GAA have done in the last, obviously a lifetime, but even in the last 50, 30 years, they've done so much in terms of the modern way to motivate and incentivize. They've all these guys and girls across the country, across the world now, playing this amateur sport to a seriously high professional level. Hurling is the fastest moving ball sport in the world. The Americans come who watch their baseball and can't get over the speed of it, just can't get, hey Johnny, I just can't believe it. It's that kind of thing. And it's the shock of that. And it's still amateur. People are rocking up after their day's work. They're committing to this 3, 4, 5 times a week, taking a couple of rest days, totally disciplined on the social front. Girlfriends, wives, partners all have to wait, boyfriends, whatever. And the point is, how are they doing it, and how have they made it so acceptable and successful. I mean, it is really remarkable.
Oh, absolutely. I think, look, the GAA have done a fantastic job in terms of promoting the game, and they've grown it globally, absolutely. And it's been organic growth as well. You know, they're excellent from a commercial perspective, and the reach now across the globe. A great success story in that was, I met a local guy recently who came back to Kanturk. He moved to Cambodia a couple of years ago and set up a club in Cambodia. And yeah, an unbelievable story. Flew home 2 teams, a men's team and a women's team, last month to compete in the World Games in Derry. So that was just that's a success story, absolutely.
And how did he get to that? Like, did the GAA support him? Was it voluntary?
A lot of fundraising again. I think up around 40,000 they raised themselves fundraiser. Now the GAA and the government as well, they do provide supports as well, from financial supports, but it's just the reach of the GAA and where it is. But it keeps coming back to the core values about promoting the games, and they do an excellent job in that. You know, you've expats that move all over the world, but they're still a part of the GAA. I was in Boston myself a couple of summers ago. Brilliant Irish community there, great teams. We've 2 guys now travelling home this week from San Francisco, having played hurling in San Francisco for the summer. So it's a great story. Like, the GAA itself is a real success story.
And actually, we've got quite a few inquiries here. The old retro GAA shirts always had the Guaranteed Irish logo on them. Yeah. And they've asked us, could they use them in I think it's the Chicago Irish team. And of course, we're supportive of it. But we've a licensing issue, so we have to sort that out. But for expats listening in, we'd love to be able to support you, but there is a license required, and we have to cover that off. But we do want to do it because obviously we love to see people promoting the GAA, but also the G of Guaranteed Irish. So all the G's working together is a good one as well. In terms of the pride that's injected in the game and it being at an amateur level, that always fascinates basically everybody. Because if you can get somebody who's really good on, who's come through that training and discipline and commitment, and that's on their CV, it's hard to imagine that will leave that person because they've been reared in it. So when they come into the workplace, you're kind of expecting that to come through. You're hoping you've hit a nugget. How important is the GAA on your CV?
Yeah, it is important. Look, it's part of it. It's the person themselves, the characters, it's the habits they build up over time. Discipline is the word you use, and that's another skill that's really important in both aspects, be it sport or a professional setting. And if you're involved in GAA over a long period of time, discipline is a big part of that, and that's a good habit to have built up to, you know, to keep yourself in physical good shape. That obviously has a knock-on effect on your well-being. Absolutely. And then to be part of a group, that's another transferable skill. And then to be, you know, understand yourself, your skill set, to be coachable again is the word I use, but then to touch on what you said about discipline, to stay part of a group and, you know, through the highs and lows, to stick at it over a period of time. So discipline is a big part of that, absolutely. And that reflects well in, would say, job interviews and all that. I think, you know, if you're being recruited, that's a good skill to have.
So some countries have conscription. We have the GAA, so it's interesting, isn't it? But it's certainly a very good impression in the workplace. So well done on all of that. So I noticed this here, Lorcan. John Kiley kept going on, Limerick manager with the All-Ireland hurling winners. Did I mention that? Again, in relation to Limerick. And they kept talking about the togetherness. And when they had the guys on from the team talking about it, it was all about the togetherness and this sense of family, and no one was bigger than the team. And it didn't matter how the goal or the point came, once it came. It really didn't matter who cracked it over the bar. It was that they got it as the team. And they kept pecking off their scores that we really, really just, it was tenacious. It was executed flawlessly. And there was a coolness there because of experience. But I mean, the other counties are clipping at their heels. They're just about to be just as good any minute. So is this new thinking about togetherness and leave the glory, the jock boys at home, is that day gone? Is it all about teamwork now?
I think there's maturity there now with that Limerick team, and an awful lot of it stems, I suppose, from the leadership from John Kiley and Kinnerk as well. I think they've done a fantastic job to keep those guys, you know, grounded, and you can see that comes across in their interviews as well, post-match interviews. They're very consistent in the type of language they use as well. You know, they're very grateful.
They've obviously got coaching in this.
Absolutely, no doubt. And they have a performance coach as well in the background. I can't think of her name now. Caroline Currid, I think.
Yes,
And she's obviously
she got a
done.
great thank you actually at the end of the All-Ireland.
Absolutely. And that's the importance of a backroom team.
Yeah.
So you try to, align everyone's thinking and align everyone's behaviours on and off the field of play. And that comes to the surface on the biggest days when the pressure's on and they look like they're going to fall or they're going to be beaten, and next thing someone else steps up to the plate or they help each other to get over the line or get the big scores. So it is...
Which the other counties must be looking at this and saying, we're going to improve on this side of things. So it's only a matter of moments, really, before everybody catches up.
That's it. And every team's gearing up to beat Limerick, and Limerick know that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
But that in terms of building a mindset as well, and that resilience and mental toughness is that they know this is coming from teams that they have to keep their standards high, and they, every year can be their last year. But I suppose they've been through an awful lot of difficult years as well. You look at the 90s as well, losing the final. You go back to 2007.
Oh, gut-wrenching.
Yeah, and now I think they appreciate where they've come from, and they're grateful for that, and they appreciate the opportunity that's there to kind of win as much as they can while they can.
And it's funny, being a Limerick going, I have to say, I see with the opportunity, now that they've crystallised it, what it has done for the city and county in terms of bringing up pride, even tidy towns, the engagement with their own communities. They feel they're as good and better than most now, whereas they always fell bottom of the barrel. So it has really changed perceptions and business, inward investment, going after business, new developments in the city. It has really improved.
It is. It's that saying like that success breeds success.
For sure.
And everyone looks at this and say we can be better, and it's a mindset, and they want to be part. They are part of that, being from Limerick. Limerick is a sports mad city, and everyone wants to be do better and achieve more and work together. And a lot of the values that are in that Limerick team now kind of spread across the community into business settings also. And
of course you have to think of the backroom team. You mentioned JP McManus has been really strong on that, and nobody would take the credit away from it. But even bringing the likes of the golf then to Adair was so big for Limerick. And then we've got great runners who are now in our Olympics 2024 going forward. So great sports of all categories, not just the GA, coming out of Limerick. And I think one thing is egging the other one on, and the inspiration is there now, isn't it?
You do, and they, like you mentioned JP McManus, highly influential within the community as well, but does a lot of good work outside of a sporting context as well, and people relate to that, and they respond to that, and they'll row in behind that. So you're looking at probably there's a lot of role models there with it from a sporting context, but also a business context as well, and people will respond to that. They'll want to do better. They look to achieve more, and they have a great marker there now. There's a great blueprint there for success.
There is, and it was a long, and I can tell you this because I was in the thick of it at one stage. That was a long time coming. So that was overnight success after 40 years of like being out in the I suppose forgotten about, if you like, in lots of ways. So they've worked hard to get it, so I hope they retain it. But it's interesting to see that a lot of it has come through sport, and the business is beginning to come now. So it is really inextricably linked, isn't it? Sport and business.
Look, it's almost like an identity for Limerick people, that there's that success
in
element.
General, I'm even saying Lorcan for Cork, wherever it is. But I see the two inextricably linked.
Oh, big time across the board. And that's where I suppose you need high performers, and you look for high performers in a high performance setting, and they'll drive standards. And what you want then is people to row in behind that, and that's where your leaders, the likes of in Limerick's context, John Kiley has stepped into that role, and he's done excellently. That's what you look for in business. That's what you look for in sport as well, is that person to step into that role and then to get people to row in behind them.
And a backroom team, really important.
Huge. And I think there's an etiquette around that as well, how people treat each other. Like they refer to that family as well. So I don't think anyone is bigger or better than the next. Everyone's part of something great, and you can see that's what comes across.
And that is altogether better, as we say here in Guaranteed Irish. And we actually just saw it recently as well with the Dubs against Kerry. They really brought it on, that whole backroom team. Nobody was bigger than getting the score on the board. It was a team effort. Did you feel it with Dublin this year?
Absolutely. And again, what a spectacle, the football final. Two real traditional teams going at it, but two done exceptional work as well. Big backroom teams, huge character shown by players, but the backroom team is huge to remove all the obstacles and let the players go out then and just deliver, execute on the game plan. And there's an awful lot of work and time goes into that in the background just for those 70 minutes out in the field of play. And that's the most intense situation. You know, it comes down to fine margins, one mistake, one missed play, one important score. That's the difference. But a lifetime of work goes in there in the background then as well.
Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure talking to you. We could talk all day about sports and business and their undeniable interlinking in terms of discipline, commitment and success. Lorcan, you're an inspiration in terms of looking at how you have merged the skill set you've learned over a lifetime from your sporting career into your business, and I wish you every success.
Thanks a million.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Lorcan. And if you want to learn more about Peninsula and their services, we will leave a link to their website in the show notes. Thank you as always for listening, and don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you are listening and leave a review if you liked what you heard.
The Guaranteed Irish Business Podcast, sponsored by FBD Insurance, Ireland's largest homegrown insurer. Support. It's what we do.